Okay, looks like we're live.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think you have a quorum, do you?
Yep. Yep, I have 6, yep.
Great.
Okay, well, why don't are we waiting for a high sign from Mike, or are we all set to go? Paige, do you know?
Ready to go.
We're ready, okay.
Yep.
I'm going to read a statement. My name's Lorraine Brew, Chair of the Foxborough Economic Development Committee, and I'm calling this meeting to order at 7:30 p.m., April 28th. In accordance with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Executive Order of March 12, 2020, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, we're conducting this meeting virtually via Zoom. Public comments will be accepted during certain portions of the meeting as determined by the chair, since we do not have any public hearings. To offer comments via Zoom, you'll be asked to use the button in Zoom labeled Raise Hand. This will alert us that you wish to speak and will bring you into the meeting one at a time, or you can write a comment in the chat section. If you're planning to speak, please take a moment to find the Zoom button. Make sure you have a working microphone. Also, please be sure that your Zoom window includes your name. If you're participating by phone, you can raise your hand by dialing *9. In the event of any technical difficulties, all matters on the agenda that have not been heard will be automatically continued to the EDC's next meeting. I'm going to start by taking a roll call for attendance, and that will introduce everyone who's on the call. So Lorraine Brew present, Dan Krantz.
Present.
John Eva.
Present.
John Gray is absent. Heather Harding.
Present.
Tom Murphy.
Present.
Catherine Rollins.
Present.
Mike Saig. Absent. Mike Stanton. Kurt Yakian. All right. Paige Duncan, Town Planning Director.
Here.
I see Mike Stanton joining. Mike, I'm doing a roll call for attendance. Mark you present. Leah Gibson from the Board of Selectmen. Present. Barney Overt from Zoning Board of Appeals.
Here.
And Kevin Weinfeld. Absent. All right, thank you. The first item on our agenda tonight is to approve the meeting minutes from February 17th. Does anyone have any recommendations for changes or edits on the minutes? Go ahead.
I do. On my own minutes, after I sent them out, I saw that I got the correct name of the gentleman in the first agenda item, Jamin Rao. I wasn't sure of the name from the recording, and I wasn't here for that beginning. So that I got from Frank Spillane, I got that name. So I added in the correct name of the gentleman interested in the liquor license.
Okay.
And then I note that at the end, I didn't really say anything about what we were like. I realized after I did the minutes and sent them out that I kind of just ended that discussion, and it didn't. Was there a discussion of what the next steps were on that? Because I didn't put those in there, and my notes might not have had that.
So if I recall, I believe that Frank had said that they would come back again if there was any other discussion to be had, and they never requested to be on the agenda. Is that everyone's recollection?
I concur.
I agree.
So do you want me to just add a sentence that says something like, Frank Spillane indicated they will come back if there is anything further to discuss?
Yes, that'd be
And
great.
then also the name of the gentleman. So those are the two changes I would recommend.
Does anyone else have any changes?
Nope.
I'll do a roll call. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes with the changes as stated? Anyone want to give me a so moved?
Yeah, so moved.
you.
Seconded.
Who seconded it?
John or Bonnie, one of us.
Okay.
I can't second.
I will second.
You're too late, Dan.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so Lorraine Brew, yes. Dan,
Yes.
John Eva,
Yes.
Heather Harding,
Yes.
Murphy,
Yes.
Catherine Rollins,
I'll abstain since I wasn't present.
Mike Stanton. Mike, you're on mute. I can't read your lips, Mike. You're on mute. Can you unmute your phone? No?
I don't know that, was he present? I'm not sure he was present, so he might have been saying the same thing. Yeah, he was absent, so might, if I could guess, he might have been saying what Catherine said.
I think he was trying to give the.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we'll check when he comes back on. All right, so the next item on the agenda is subcommittee updates, action items, and discussion. Start with, oh, hi, Mike, you're back. Mike, you want to abstain from that vote? Can't hear you. You're on mute.
Okay, he said.
Okay. All right, so the first update will be rail trail pedestrian transit update.
Paige or Tom, I'll throw that one back at you. I don't know that we have a real update. We're just waiting on the state, correct?
That's correct.
Right. No, Paige, you know how long that usually takes? That like a few months or?
Yeah, if I recall when we talked about it last year, now we didn't know because of COVID if that was a different time, but I feel like it was August or something. It was a long way off. So we kind of anticipated it would be late summer unless it surprised us early.
And this is for a grant.
This is for the feasibility study. Yeah, grant, yes. So we're still waiting on news.
And if anybody has some thoughts on, while we wait, anything we should be doing or trying to study, be interested in hearing that as well.
Paige, did you see the shots I took? I was in Cumberland. I actually did a walk. I took a couple of shots right by the Blackstone River. Went in from Cumberland into Lincoln. It was really nice job done there.
I saw that. It was great.
Yeah.
Really nice.
Signage and everything, and mile markers, and they did a great job.
Goals.
When I was living there, I would hang out by that bridge, but there was no walkway.
We won't ask why.
Yeah.
All right. So all set for rail trail update?
Yes.
How about for Route 1, Dan or Mike?
I've been in contact with Mike Stant and Mike Saig. Currently, we have May 12th scheduled for our next subcommittee meeting. Anybody that would want to attend, please attend as it relates to Route 1. It probably is going to be at 9:30 at Foxborough DPW, but we will confirm that. But right now we are targeting May 12th for our next subcommittee Route 1 meeting.
Okay, great. Thank you. For business development, so the business guide, the Foxborough Business Guide it exists, has been distributed to the department heads. For editing, it's Diana Gray is helping out with getting that out to everybody. And Paige also provided all with a link to the Franklin Business Guide, which is really a nice piece of work. If you have a chance to take a look at the Franklin Business Guide, please do. Once we get the changes back from the department heads, then I think it will be interesting to see, if there's anything that we could do to make the guide. The Franklin version is actually very bullet format and easy to follow. So it's a nice model there. So I thought maybe we could talk about how we could, what steps we could take to update our business guide into a more user-friendly format. So that's the update for business development that I have. I haven't heard any update from John Gray regarding the database yet. So we'll probably meet sometime in May to go over what changes we get back from the department heads at that time. Any questions? Okay. Website content, any update?
Yeah,
Not really. I mean, I've been tweaking it, trying to keep it somewhat relevant. I just added some new restaurant support that just went out today. Thank you, Heather, for putting that on Facebook, because there's some funds out there now for the restaurants through the Small Business Association, I think. And that's it. We did earlier, a month or so ago, attend an interesting session. If you Google Norton Economic Development, the town of Norton, they actually have a fairly robust website going, and they use a service. And it was remarkably not as expensive as one would have thought, considering how fancy it looked. Now, that said, in our meeting, it was clear that they're updating their platform. So it was interesting. He wasn't even really trying to sell us right then and there, because there were tweaks. So I think, and now that I think about it, sales wise, they haven't followed up. So
I know.
that's weird. I realized. So they must not be ready. But the point being, we weren't really interested probably before the end of the fiscal year anyway. It was no big rush, but it was something that was not all that expensive. And we thought that maybe we would bring it forward as possible economic development money. It provided some really great data for businesses and other folks to use and to access from our website. So it was very interesting. So stay tuned on that. Like we said, that we're waiting to hear back from them, but I'll remind myself tomorrow to check on that and see where they stand.
Yeah, they gave a great presentation, and they let us ask lots of questions. And I think one of the things that I liked most about it was they have really good platforms for your website, but then they also help teach you and drive people to it, because you can have the best website in the world, but if people don't get to it and they can't easily find it, it's kind of for nothing. So that was really what I was interested in, was how do we drive them to the Economic Development Committee website? So that was really a focus on a lot of the questions I asked. And, it sounds like it's working in other towns. So hopefully when they get their platforms up and they get back to us, that'll be something that we can work with. Bill Keegan was in on the meeting and he seemed to really like it. So hopefully.
Yeah.
We also, our website, but it will help with our website. Over the last few days, we've been emailing, I'm blocking the woman's name page, but that's doing the tourism website for Foxborough, Rentham, Plainville. And she reached out and they're putting together, it's going to be like a tourism website, but it's going to have a whole section on Foxborough. So she reached out to us for data and pictures, and we sent a bunch of stuff over. And once they get up and running, I'm hoping there's maybe a way to link our website onto theirs. So if you're on ours, you can get to theirs and vice versa. So I think that'll be really helpful in driving people to our website. Don't you think, Paige?
Definitely. And we can definitely do that because we're in control of it. So
Right.
yeah, she's building the website for us. So That's a really good point. We'll make sure they're linked, and
And-
each town will be highlighted. It's a tri-town website. It's going to be for Foxborough, Plainville, and Rentham, and the destinations. But absolutely, we'll tie it in. We want to have a section on like our uptown and kind of our amenities. So each community is going to get their own little highlight, but we definitely will make sure that it draws folks over to EDC's website.
Right. And the only other thing that I was noticing about our website that I kind of wanted to throw out to the group is when you go to the town's page, then you click on the EDC and it takes you to our separate website. But unlike the other boards and committees in town, when you get there, all it lists, if you do meet the EDC, it just lists our names. It doesn't list, what our term is, and there's no contact information. So if you were a business or someone trying to reach out, you kind of got to flip back and forth between the different sites. So I just wanted to run by this group and see if anybody was willing to have their contact information listed like the other boards and committees do in town. And maybe the dates when we're up for appointment, just so that our committee mirrors all the other ones in town. I'm fine.
No, thank you. No.
Do the other committees actually have emails and things like that? I don't recall seeing that, Heather.
All different. Some of them have up at the top just one person's, and it might be a town hall email, like it could be
Yeah.
Paige. Some of them list people and then their emails and then a phone number. They're all different, and I don't think anybody should put out there any information they don't want. But I think if you go to the EDC website, you should be able to contact someone relatively easily, even if it's Paige. But I just think
Yeah.
someone somewhere should have an email and a phone number. Right now, there's nothing.
Okay. I would nominate Paige for that.
Sorry, Paige.
Can the town IT department create a mailbox?
Well, it's probably just easier to have it come to me. Or we could have it go to the planning department, and then that goes to the 3 staff in the planning. We
I
want
like that better, Paige.
Yeah.
I don't think it needs to be anything elaborate. Right now, if you go to the other departments, you can click on something and either send an email or get a phone number. I just think we should have some point of contact. That's all.
That's a great point. I didn't realize that wasn't there. I
Yeah.
didn't realize there was no one to contact us. That's kind of sad.
I mean, they can go back to the town of Foxborough website and find it, but we want to make it as easy for people as possible.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I'll make sure that this, they can reach our office. And I haven't even brought this up to Bill Keegan or anybody yet, but I did bring it up with my planning board at our last meeting. Is I'm gonna probably try to recommend that my title and the title of at least our office, like I feel like our title should be planning and economic development, because we spend so much time on economic development, or I do, that it just seems like from a department name. So that's something I haven't had a chance to even. The planning board was pretty interested in that. I mean, with a few comments, some liked community development and whatnot. But anyway, so I do feel that from that marketing perspective, you want to give the perception that there's someone, at the ready to talk, not just planning, but economic development. So stay tuned on that. I just haven't had a chance to sort of escalate that to the powers that be. I don't know who makes those decisions, but I will get to that.
The board would do that.
Yeah, well, there's the planning department. I mean, the board's okay with it. It's, but I actually work for, so it's the difference. It's planning department versus planning board. I'm not trying to change the name of the planning board at all. I would never do that. So it's a question of whether it's planning and economic development and that sort of thing.
But you can't change the name of the planning board because that's statutorily
Right.
directed. But
Right. That's,
the name of your department can be changed.
yes, correct. I'm not trying to change the name of the planning board at all. So stay tuned. I don't know.
Okay. I'm just used to being ambushed by our staff all the times. They take liberties, and it's no big deal in my book. So go for it.
Right. Any other comments on website content? Next one is Uptown/FCBC. Update.
Leah, you want to do that? Or you want me to?
You can do it.
All right, we have lots going on. We have dog bowls coming to put out for dog-friendly businesses that will have the logo on them, try to spruce up Uptown a little bit. The new picnic tables will be going in on the common, so we'll have more places for people to sit outside. We are getting 13 new flower buckets to add to the flower bucket adoption program Uptown. And people love that. I have a wait list, so I think those will fill quickly and they'll look great. The farmers market is a go. It's going to be run under COVID guidelines, but it is going to happen, and it's going to happen in conjunction with the JC's concerts on the Common. The juice guy, whose name I block all the time, Jeff Pina, but I don't know the name of the business, but he's opening in a couple of months, and GA Barber is going to be opening anytime now. So all good stuff Uptown. Did I miss anything?
I think just the Founder's Day thing, that's the biggest thing. They decided that's a no-go last night. Some of you may have seen that. Yeah, it is a no-go page. Parades are allowed at 50% capacity, but when I talked to Scott O'D, he said, like, how do you monitor that or anything?
Yeah,
So
what's 50%?
I think everyone wanted it to happen, but it's just too short notice. So hopefully it'll be back bigger and better next year.
That's the spirit.
The other thing I could update, it's kind of in the later thing, but while we're talking Uptown, we might as well talk about it. Leah's aware of it, and Heather, because the reason we're getting the 13 new planters is we're doing another trial Uptown starting May 17th on the School Street side of things. There will be a change to the traffic pattern, temporary. It's being paid for by the state. It's a two-pronged thing. One is to address some of the issues that there are down at Central Street and South Street. You know how folks are on the inside lane and they cut over to Central. So this has always been the phase 2 of the common work or the rotary work. So we're able to do that. And then we're also going to be testing out, there's been a high demand for increased pedestrian ability to travel around the common. So we're trying on the School Street side to eliminate temporarily the angle parking and put in parallel parking that will give space to allow a sidewalk, temporary sidewalk around the outside of the fence on the School Street side. It's going to run for 3 weeks. And it's a test, as we said. The state is paying for all the materials, and the good thing is we get to keep the planter buckets at the end, and those can be appropriated as be. As with the stuff at the top of the common, if something is working, there's a chance it'll stay in place. But if it's not working, then it would be removed. And it was even discussed that if it was like a crisis, and we're all sort of testing this out to see how it goes. We do have parallel parking in other areas, Central Street and over by South Street Pizza. So it's not uncommon, but it is a change. So obviously if it was a big disaster being temporary, it could be put back very quickly. But we are hoping to see how this helps with not just the traffic, but also the need for pedestrian. And that's one of the things with talking to selectmen, we've always said is we all, the main goal is to move cars through there, 14 to 15,000 cars a day. But there's also a high demand for pedestrian safety. And as we see farmers markets and concerts on the common and Shoveltown and apartments, we are going to have a greater need to make people safer up there. As rec goes, I know one of their biggest fears is the crosswalk over in front of South Street Pizza. That's a very dangerous thing. So we're trying to improve the pedestrian experience out there. We understand it's always at the risk slightly of traffic, and we're trying to balance that and be quite sensitive to that. But I think everybody can agree that, the Main Street problem is resolved. I think did I hear Leah or somebody talk about last night that Dairy Queen's now a problem, but that's a different problem. Uptown has really improved at rush hour. So stay tuned, but that's May 17th. And I believe it runs through, what did they decide, like June 8th or something, 7th and 8th. Okay. So that's happening Uptown. And then the
Thank you.
wayfinding signs, I know we keep saying it. And again, our guys are so busy. They're working, they do a lot of towns, just so you know, a lot of towns like sub this out and they hire contractors to do a lot of the work. And you can probably see our guys are the ones out there doing the paving work and whatnot in front of the Orpheum, Marilyn Rodman. And so we do have the wayfinding signs. That is a project we know we have to get done. They're at DPW. And we're just all sympathetic to the fact that they really have so many things to do. And I know they'll get to it as soon as they can. But we're waiting. We're excited.
Great. Thank you. All right. So the next item on our agenda is update page. You have a number listed here. Shared streets, uptown traffic.
Yeah, so that worked out well. So that's the one I just talked about.
Yep.
And then the temporary outdoor dining update. I wish I remembered to bring my list home, but we have issued temporary outdoor dining for, I believe, 11 restaurants now. So we have a full complement of restaurants that have their outdoor dining. It might not be open yet, but they're authorized to get going as soon as they're able. Fire station and funeral home sale is still progressing. We are planning on closing, hopefully, I believe the schedule is May 17th or May 18th. I think things are on track on that. I've been, town council and actually mostly the other council work on that. And then I checked in with them and it seems like that's on track. The great news about that one is the one of the critical points that wouldn't hold up the project, but was something from my perspective was really important, was the old housing authority house, and that's owned by the state. So we, as you know, there's a plan to swap 15 to 17 Market Street from the housing authority to give that to the town. And then Doug King, the developer of the fire station, is going to use that for staging during the construction project. And then, well, first he'll demo the old house at his expense. And then he will use that for construction staging during the project. And then when it's done, he will be building a parking lot, and it'll be a public parking lot, not for his project, with 14 spaces. And then in exchange, 17 Centennial is going to the housing authority. So the biggest accomplishment is that I actually have the deed from the state for 15 to 17 Market. So, and I believe last night the Board of Selectmen signed the deed for 17 Centennial. So we're just about ready to do the swap. So it's kind of a miracle. I was told that getting the deed from the state could take months. And so we started months ago, and I can't believe it. It's actually, I put it in the safe. I'm so paranoid that the original deed with the state signature, I have it in the treasurer's safe for fear that I'd spill coffee or something would burn down. I'm like, I'm not losing this deed. So yay. So fingers crossed this actually progresses. I'm not sure how familiar everybody on this committee is about the Shoveltown project. I know Leah's well aware of it, but Shoveltown came to town and they are proposing a pop-up location over behind Conrad's on the parcel that Doug King owns. And last night they got their final approvals from the Board of Selectmen to operate for 30 days with the understanding that there'll be 2 more additional one-day licenses granted, but they were granted 30 at a time. So for right now, we're in the first 30-day period. It's scheduled to start on Memorial Day and run on weekends. So it's going to be very interesting. It's been a way to support Shoveltown. The governor and the state has been really pushing all this outdoor. That's why these shared streets and all these planters and whatnot, I mean, they're just trying to get people outside. So they've relaxed some zoning. And so as part of this effort, we've got Shoveltown coming in for the summer and through Halloween to operate their pop-up location there. There'll be food. Obviously, anything in Foxborough that serves alcohol has to be a restaurant. So it will be a restaurant, but it will serve their beer and I believe wine as well. Rally Point, that's another interesting one. And we're just sort of kicking off this. Rally Point has their temporary outdoor dining permit as they did last year, but they're also seeking permission to hold events in their parking lot, as in like a band would play and they would sell tickets and serve food and alcohol at an event. We did meet out on site to talk about it last week or 10 days ago. We've been kind of busy staff wise. So staff is scheduled to meet on Friday just without the walkers to talk about logistics. Like, we're not sure how this would work and if it can be done. And, but obviously after all we did with Shoveltown, we certainly are going to do everything we can to support our, an existing local business, but we have to work through sort of the realities of it and figure out what's involved. So stay tuned on that. And then finally, Walnut Street. I've been spending a ton of time on that lately. That Walnut Street is the 16 acres owned by the Housing Authority. And we submitted an expression of interest for the one-stop permit to try to get to get in line for a MassWorks grant for the sewer, which is estimated at, I think, about $1 million. There's probably 1.5, but that includes other properties. And then the signal work is $2.5 million. So we're in the queue to try to see if we can get a MassWorks grant to do it. The good news is today we got really positive feedback on the one-stop permit and our expression of interest, and we definitely are eligible for MassWorks. The bad news is we need to be shovel ready when we apply. And normally, that would be a challenge on a good day. Normally the application period is August. And of course, this year it's June 4th. So we're not going to be shovel ready. That said, I spoke to Mass Development. They're the ones helping us with the RFP. And I kind of lamented the news and the woman from Mass Development wrote back just now and said, I think you guys are still in a good position and you should apply. So we're going to apply. But they made it very clear that it's so competitive that shovel-ready projects are going to get priority. And maybe we can show that we can be shovel-ready, but, we still have to, there's a whole lot of work to be done before we're anywhere close to that. So a little bit of a, bummer. Now, the other good news is we are in queue for Congressman Auchincloss. He has reached out to the town of Foxborough and probably all the towns in his district seeking community projects / earmarks. We had to submit the Walnut Street. We submitted the Walnut Street project for this consideration on April 6th. And the great news is a week or 10 days later, we learned we made it to phase 2. So that gave us 2 whole days to turn around a 5-page questionnaire to get that in. But word is we are pretty high on the list. The bad news, that doesn't include sewer. It only includes transportation. But the good news is if we could possibly, but the whole thing is the whole act has to, if it goes back to committee or things, this whole earmark community project thing might die. But for right now, we're in a strong position. If this goes through the federal government, we stand a chance. So we are working really hard on this effort. And we're getting ready to do a working group for Walnut Street. We've been meeting and getting ready to kick off that project. So it's a lot. It's something, it's going to take years to do, honestly, from what we're learning, the tax credits and whatnot. This is a huge project, but we're trying to bite off every little piece we can and try to get funding everywhere we can. And, stay tuned.
Great update. Thank you, Paige. Lots of good things happening.
Yeah.
All
Can I
right.
make can I ask one quick question, Lorraine?
Sure.
Paige, just because some of the restaurants have so much going on right now, do you think it's worth, and maybe you've already done this, reaching out to the restaurants that had a temporary dining permit just to make sure that they know they have to reapply? I don't even mind it's not a long list. I know you've got a lot going on, but do you think it's just worth a courtesy, hey, just making sure you saw, so that no one kind of gets stuck or doesn't know? Maybe they think their application from last year still stood or anything.
I mean, I did send a letter out at the beginning of all this. So, they might forget, but
Okay, but we sent something out.
I think 11 out of 18 have renewed.
Okay.
And a lot of the ones that are a handful of the ones that are reviewed are up at Patriot Place. So I hope they're not dying, but it's interesting ones what is it? Helix or Bites or whatever, that one, maybe we haven't seen them. Skipjacks, we haven't seen them. And I heard that they only had 2 tables last year. So I'm less worried about them because I think maybe they're just not interested. But certainly we could check. It's not, like you say, it's very few that would be out there. Like Foxborough Country Club, I haven't heard from them. Maybe the weather just hasn't yet turned around for them, or maybe now they can dine indoors enough and it's sufficient. So we could talk if you want offline and think about.
Maybe it's just really Foxborough Country Club then, because Dan, I did send the Patriot Place list to Diana at one point when Paige had sent it to me. So maybe it's worth just reaching out to Foxborough Country Club and make sure that they're.
Yeah, and I trust, Diane will take care of it on that end.
Yeah,
Yep, so it sounds like we're covered then. Okay.
I think we are.
Great. Any other questions? Comments?
Yeah, Lorraine, Paige, what are the items that are preventing us from being shovel ready on Walnut Street?
Let's see. A lot. Well, what we're doing is we're developing an RFP right now for, to find a developer to build this project. So, but before we issue the RFP, we as a community / the working group, and really the housing authority, that's who it is, has to come up with the standards by which the RFP will evaluate. So we have to figure out what we want out there. Now we've discussed it that we've learned kind of the hard way that if we're too prescriptive, if we say, it must be a housing development of this, this, and this, like chances are towns aren't real good at predicting what makes a developer money, and no developer's gonna do it without making money. So we are just starting on that. We also are committed to dealing with the neighborhood. We've targeted, I think it's late May, early June, to sort of let like the North High Street people be aware and sort of find out from them like the key issues. We know there's going to be some concerns, and we are sensitive to that. So we're going to try to put things like lower density near them, and any higher density away from them, closer to the highway. So then it's that. So we have to come up with that, develop the RFP, issue it, get a developer, and then developer needs to get a permit from the Zoning Board of Appeals. So we got a lot of work to do, unfortunately.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. But we're going to do it, and we're in great shape. Don't be discouraged.
Well, I'm not. The key one you told me is find a developer.
Any other questions?
I can say on that, John, that we have been approached by a few developers, so I do think this is a project of interest. I think there's a lot of interest out there. So but again, we all know if we make it too restrictive, then we lose the ability of developers to respond. So that's where we're balancing. But as of right now, it looks like there's quite a bit of interest in this type of development.
Good, good.
Lorraine, I had one comment that's not on the agenda. It's not necessarily a question that we've talked about so far.
Mhm.
I don't know if you want me to save that or.
No, go ahead.
Okay, sorry, I didn't send this early when I looked at the agenda, but we've been doing a lot of talking about reappointments. That's coming up in May, and it will probably get pushed to June. We thought that made more sense with the election and the turnover of boards and such. So just something for the board to start thinking about more so. When I looked at the town report that was kind of hot off the press, it looked like it was a majority of the board, like all but I think just the newer people that have been appointed. So, just for the board to think about if people are staying on or, looking to step away.
Okay. You can just send out an email to the group, ask if anyone intends to change. Thanks, Leah. Does anyone else have any other questions, comments?
Just good to see all of you.
You want to talk about our next meeting dates? So we've got potential for May 19th or June 16th. Seeing as this was put off for a week here or so, I'm thinking June 16th to make it for our next meeting. What does the group think?
I
Anyone?
think that makes sense.
Fine with me.
Okay.
That makes sense too, because I know our charter that we approved says we're supposed to elect a chair, vice chair, and clerk each May. But if the selectmen are going to be bumping it to June, it seems silly to do it before that. So I guess we should probably push ours to June as well, right? Does that make sense? I know the charter says May, but it seems kind of, if the Board of Selectmen are going to push it to June, maybe we should do the same.
The only thing I can think of is maybe if people step down and there is a position to fill, maybe interview candidates on May 19th is my only thought to be appointed for June. So maybe we can just,
Yeah,
see
one thing at a
how
time.
those cards fall, Lorraine, and if that's needed or not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll send out the charter again. Okay, so for now, we'll plan on June 16th unless something changes in the interim. Does that sound, is that what I'm hearing you're saying, Leah?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. All right. Why don't we, and if there's not anything else, any other questions or comments, make a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Dan.
Second.
Thanks, Mike. And the roll call. Lorraine Brew, yes. Dan Krantz,
Yes?
Don Eva,
Yes.
Heather Harding, Tom Murphy,
Yes.
Catherine Rollins,
Yes.
Mike Stanton.
Yes,
Thank you very much. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Good night.
we
Great
adjourned.
update.
Dan, I'll talk to you in the.
Thank you.